Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frenagades and welcome back to another video game review. Today we are reviewing Detroit Become Human. This is a decision-based game, action, adventure, more of an adventure game. Well, more an action game, I guess. Um, that is released by Quantic Dream in 2018. This is their most recent release. I messed up the case pretty badly, I'm not gonna lie. But the disc is still intact. Look. Yes, this is the disc I used to do my playthrough with. But yes, it is the 2018 video game released by Quantic Dream. Decision-based game about androids and humans, basically. Um, the first thing I want to mention, I just want to go over the positives. The story is phenomenal. The story is phenomenal. It's like the best way I can describe it, and the most obvious way you could parallel it to, is the civil rights movement. But in a much faster pace. Because I think like the game takes place, almost the entirety of the game takes place throughout a couple of days, like within like a week or so. Um, so yeah, yeah, as I said, much faster. From androids becoming slaves to androids basically fighting for their rights, whether that be metaphorically or physically. Metaphorically or literally. The story follows three different characters, three main characters that you play as: Connor, Marcus, and Kara. Now, there are three different purposes. Kara is the servant. She's a maid android. She cooks, cleans, does all the things that a maid would do. Takes care of a child, or I guess the average housewife would do. So let me do this. Do not disturb on. Anyways, yeah. Marcus is more of a caretaker. He's actually a unique model. This is actually Marcus is a one of a kind android, but he's a caretaker for this painter named Carl Manfred. I was like, I know it was Carl something, but I'm not. I was thinking of Karl Marx for some reason. But yeah, Carl Manfred. He is a painter, and then we have Connor, who is a police android. Now he is a top of the line police android. Like he has features that other characters, like other androids, don't have, as in like detect kind of like detective vision, not from the Arkham games, but more so detective vision from Batman, the Telltale series. Where Batman looks at pieces of evidence and he's able to retrack and basically build up a crime scene. That's exactly what Connor can do. And he's also able to like, detect different models by tasting their blood and stuff like that. Connor is just insane. But we all have these characters that just kind of break out into to their deviancy. And with the exception of Connor has the choice on whether he wants to become deviant or not. These characters all have basically two sides to them on which kind of path do you want to take. For Marcus, Marcus goes on. Well, actually, I'll mention that later. So, what basically leads him into being a deviant? So, with Marcus, Marcus is greeted by Carl's son Leo, who is a drug addict, and he's trying to, you know, get some money out of Carl for some money. Well, get some money out of Carl for drugs, for the red ice, which is what I would assume, getting the red ice. And there was a point where Leo starts to agitate Marcus, but Carl says not to fight back. And in my playthrough, I pushed him. Now, I thought I killed him, but it turns out he was just put into a coma. But on the scene, I won't say it's poorly written, but it does, is kind of weirdly written. Because, Carl tells Marcus to get out of the house, that it starts off with Carl telling Marcus, he has to go, and that they'll kill him they'll destroy him on sight, and he has to go. But then the cops walk in, and you just hear Carl just yelling at Marcus to go, and the cops end up shooting him. And then Marcus goes on, is at a dump. He's at a junkyard. He rebuilds himself with the parts of other androids, and he finds this he finds this place called Jericho where deviants pretty much roam free. And what Marcus does is he takes this group of deviants and he leads them into an android revolution to get liberation, pretty much. Yeah, to get liberation. So with Marcus, you're able to take a violent approach or you're able to take a pacifistic approach. In my playthrough, I took a violent approach, of course. I was curious about everything. So yeah, you basically have a violent approach. And I'm not going into like great amount of detail about everything that's going on because it is way too much to go on. This video would be long, very long, very long. But as you see, so with Connor is kind of like the opposite of Marcus in a sense. Is at a point, if you don't get Connor killed off, well, actually, if you don't get Connor shut down, is what I'll say. Because I got Connor killed 4 times. I got Connor killed 4 times, but Connor is an android on a case about deviants, right? And throughout the entire story, he and his partner Hank, who is the lieutenant of the police force, Detroit police department, I guess you could say. But yeah, he's a lieutenant working on the case with Connor. Throughout the story, throughout his interactions with Hank and his decisions, you can decide if you want Connor to become more machine or if you want him to become more human-like, you know. So if you want Connor to be just machine-like, getting his mission accomplished, catching deviants, you can do that. Or if you want to go ahead and try to make Connor a deviant as well, then you can do that and have him side with the android revolution. It's basically for Connor's purpose. He can be either an android on the human side or he can be an android on the android side. You know what I mean? He's like kind of in the middle of the war. And Marcus, you know, already has his side already there. Connor has to choose a side. So you can either have Marcus and Connor be friends, well, not friends, but allies in this war, or have them be enemies. My bad. It's a lot of talking for me. But anyways, then you have Kara, who you know, her story is that she is an android servant who was bought by this guy named Todd, who was abusing his daughter. So with the choices you make, you can escape with her. I actually found out that if you refuse to have Kara become deviant, then Todd will just kill her and his daughter. Yeah, that's like, wow. And actually, no. This is like one of the funniest things ever because it like reveals super early on that Alice was an android. It like reveals super early on that Alice was an android. Like if you want to just find out that she's an android, you can just die right there, and it'll just, you know, you won't have to skip through the rest of the story. But it is a really good story regardless, because if you do go ahead and turn deviant, you know, you turn against Todd, and depending on your choices, you can either kill Todd or not knock him out, but basically just escape with Alice. You know, you get into a fight with him, and, you know, Todd either kills you or you win and you run off with Alice. And they are trying to find their way up to Canada. And with the 2 different paths that Kara can take, they're not super clear, but it's basically, are you going to be distant with Alice or are you going to be close with Alice? Are you going to follow what Alice likes, or are you going to be selfish, pretty much? You know, be more, not more human, but, you know, are you going to be close to Alice or are you going to be distant? You know, you can kind of like tell when it comes to like these characters' endings, you know, like with Marcus's ending. If he has a peaceful revolution, then androids are still probably going to be, the androids are still going to be enslaved. But if they have a violent one, then, you know, they're going to be, the androids and humans are going to be at war. If Connor probably has the more complex endings. Actually, yeah. If Connor remains a machine, he just ends up getting replaced by a better Connor, by a better model of Connor. And if Connor remains human, Connor will probably either get shut. I don't remember the endings for Connor. Well, the ending for Connor if he's a human. But Connor, if I'm correct, according to Berlizzi's playthrough, Connor could become Amanda's slave, who is this program in Connor's conscience, inducted by CyberLife to like kind of help him get through his missions. So yeah, he can just remain a robo slave. And then with Kara, Kara has wow, quite a few endings. But I will say it's basically as I said, remain with Alice or not. Now Kara actually I would say has one of the darkest endings in the game. Where there is a point where Kara and Alice get captured and they get taken to the android concentration camp to get destroyed. And there's a point where the soldiers command an android to take a dead android out into the junkyard. And you have the choice as Kara to volunteer to do it. Otherwise, this guy will probably get shot. So she does it. And then you have the choice in the junkyard to either abandon Alice or go back to her. And if you abandon her, you go into the truck bed full of dead androids, and it takes her to a junkyard, and where she will be able to escape on her own. Effectively, basically, Kara just left a child android to die, like to die in a concentration camp, and it like just hits. It hits so hard because you have Alice in the machine that she's about to die in, asking for Kara to come and save her, and it's just really depressing. Now, let's talk about the endings that I got. So, as I previously mentioned, I got Connor killed 4 times. The first time was during the first deviant that we came across with. It was during an interrogation, and I stressed him out a whole lot by probing his memory to find out exactly what happened because he wouldn't talk. So, what the android did was he tried committing suicide by bashing his head into the table that he was at. And the police officers was trying to stop him, and I believe I tried to stop them, and it was like, yeah, we don't really need him anymore. And the android pretty much took the officer's gun and shot Connor and then shot himself. And then the other 3 times were doing the last episode that I did for this game. Yeah, I got Connor killed 3 times in one video. That is crazy. The first time was through Connor and Marcus's first fight at Jericho when Jericho was getting raided by the FBI, and yeah, these two had a fight, and Marcus killed Connor, and Connor ended up getting killed in the explosion that happened on Jericho. The third death that I had for Connor was when Connor came back. And during one of Marcus's not revolutions, what am I talking about? During one of Marcus's riots, Connor was getting ready to snipe Marcus, but he was interrupted by Hank, and these two get into a fight, in which I purposefully lost just to see what would happen. And Hank has Connor hanging at the from the top of a building, and Connor kind of gives Hank an ultimatum. He's like, "Do you think I'm a machine, or do you think I'm a robot? Do you think I'm a human, or do you think I'm a machine?" And Hank just drops him. And he's like, "I think you're a machine." Just simple as that. But and then the last death I got was also by Marcus. During the final fight, Marcus, I actually had the choice to play as Marcus or Connor, and I chose Marcus, and I really killed Connor. Like I killed Connor off completely to the point where it said mission failed. Marcus's ending, Marcus led a violent revolution and won the war. Well, yeah, and won. He liberated all the androids from the concentration camps, and he doesn't. I mean, he wins the battle, but this basically means that androids and humans are going to be just at absolute war, and because of this, this leads directly into Kara's ending. Because with Kara, I took her and Alice. Up to Canada. We were going to be at the the border station, and I'm not gonna lie. No matter what I did, Kara would have died. But I think what I did also led Alice to die. So one simple action in that moment led to their deaths. It was basically everything I did before that, because at the border station, they're checking the temperatures of everyone to see if they're androids, and if they are, they get shot on sight. And when I did this with Kara, there was a choice to either sacrifice herself or to do no sacrifice. I chose to do no sacrifice, and Kara and Alice went up, got their temperatures taken. The guy taking the temperature looked at the TV when Kara said that she didn't want, she just wanted to be free. And he saw the violence on the TV that was caused by my choices as Marcus, and he let them know that they were androids. Kara and Alice had to get on their knees, and they both got shot. It is depressing. It's definitely one of my biggest L's one of my biggest L's that I've played in a decision-based game. But I gotta live with that. I may play it again someday. But overall, the game is really good. The story is really good. And as I said, I know I'm leaving stuff out, like characters like Rose and Luther and Simon and Josh and North being a love interest for Marcus, all that good stuff. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things of this review, to keep this short and sweet, just to give you a summary, I'm just going through over what happened in my playthrough pretty much. There are really great moments, like when characters interact, like when Connor and Hank are looking for Kara, and then you switch control over to Kara, and you're basically trying to hide. So you kind of like have the choice between these two characters when you playing them, not simultaneously, but kind of like going back and forth. You know, like even with Connor and Marcus, you know, the whole conversation with those two, you're controlling. You know, you're pretty much controlling. Like you can have Marcus ask a question, and then you have Connor answer it. You know, it's just as simple as that. It's definitely one of the best decision-based games that I've played. Now, going to the negatives. The one thing I have to mention is the controls. The controls are really weird. Like, really weird. Like, when I'm talking about, like, the action prompts. Because, like, the action prompts, let's just take this PS5 controller, for example. So, I don't mind when you have to use the touchpad and stuff like that. That's not an issue. What I have an issue with is the fact that sometimes you have to press, I don't know, like the most random buttons that they just want you to push. Like sometimes they'll have you press hold R2, then L2, then L1, then L2, then triangle, and then X, and then you're holding up and down, and then you got to do all this stuff, and it's just like it's kind of unnecessary to do just one simple action. And then it'd be like that. And then it's just like that when you're just like, I don't know, pulling something up, grabbing something, picking something up, or even just flipping a page of a book. That's just kind of what it feels like, you know. I know it's not exactly like that. Like there are some moments where you pick stuff up and you're just taking the right stick and just up, side, you know. I get that. But there's at times where the controls just feel like y'all just doing too much. Y'all doing too much. It feels like they're trying to make them as complex as possible so that the game isn't boring. So the game is more interactive, basically. But overall, I really do enjoy the game. I know I'm not going over every single aspect, as I said. I'm not trying to. But the game is great. Great graphics. It's aging gracefully. It's a great message. As I said, the only negative... Oh, yeah, and there's a couple of plot holes as well, now that I'm thinking about it. I got to remember that. There's a couple of plot holes. The biggest plot hole that that I saw was Alice's reveal as an android. So, while Kara and Alice are in Jericho, Kara goes ahead and meets with Marcus, and then when she goes back to Alice, she sees an android model that looks exactly like Alice, and that's how she finds out. But the thing is, in the character Luther, who's been with them, the guardian that they have, you know, Luther is important, but not important in this summary, basically. I guess I'll explain Luther. Luther was a slave robot that, was an android that was serving a guy named Zlatko, who liked to make abominations, who liked to combine and remove stuff from androids. Had an abomination. Kara found out, got a memory wipe, started to remember Alice, and Luther was helping Zlatko look for them. And then the final confrontation between those, Luther turned deviant and let Zlatko get killed. And then he followed them, and then he followed with Kara and Alice and became friends with them. But Luther was telling like basic. It was like it's like two things. First, when they go back in the flashback of when Kara, there was an article like way back in the beginning of the game. There was a moment where Kara is like assorting mail, right? And something drops out. She picks it up and puts it back, and puts it back. Now the thing is, it looks normal because it's from the perspective, you don't see what drops, you don't care about what drops. But later on, they reveal that that was the little pamphlet for the Alice's Android model, and it's just like, why did y'all do that? Like y'all purposefully hid it. Y'all purposefully hit that, and it's just like, why? I get what y'all were trying to do, but like that's just not good. And then throughout the whole thing with Luther, he was trying to tell Kara that Alice was an android, but he just wouldn't spill it out. Like he could have, like, literally 3 words. Alice, 4 words. Alice is an android. Alice is an android. And it does kind of, but then again, like when you look at the grand scheme of things as well, when you look back at stuff, it makes sense because Alice never eats. Like throughout the entire thing, like you can see like small details that Alice never eats. Like she doesn't eat during the dinner scene in the beginning when Kara is serving Todd and Alice dinner. She doesn't eat the candy bar if you steal one from her from the convenience store. She doesn't eat the spaghetti that Rose makes for her. She just doesn't eat at all. So it does kind of make sense, when you look at the grand scheme of things. But obviously, when you're playing the game for the first time, you're not really going to notice that. You're just like, oh, this little girl doesn't want to eat. All right, but you don't realize that she doesn't eat at all throughout the entire thing. And it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. That kind of makes sense. Well, yeah, that's like that's one of the biggest plot holes I've seen in the game. And also, was there another plot hole I could think of? I don't know. If there are any plot holes, I would recommend you giving that to me, letting me know. But my personal favorite character in this, obviously, is Marcus. Because Marcus essentially is the main character, like the main character, because he's the one leading the revolution. He's the one dictating the public view of the androids. And Marcus and Connor and Kara are just kind of like, what is it? Not products, but more so I don't know, soldiers in war, basically. Yeah, kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but they're basically much smaller to the grand scheme of things. Like if Connor wasn't there at all, at least in my story, he definitely wouldn't have it definitely wouldn't have mattered, at least to Marcus. It would make a difference if Connor killed Marcus, but Connor is just kind of responding to this. Kara is just kind of responding to this. Well, actually, no. Connor is responding to this. Kara is getting responses from this. Connor is responding. Like when I say Connor is responding to the violence that's going on with Android. He's directly responding to it by trying to end it and make lives better for humans. But with Kara, she's trying to escape all this, but she can't because of the public view of androids, which is responding to the violence that Marcus has. So she is more so a victim in this. And then, you have Marcus, who is causing all of this. This is the cause, this is the effect. You know what I mean? But as I said, though, this is an amazing game. I'm sorry I can't go through every single detail. I don't want to be here for too long to bore you to death with my talking. But Detroit Become Human, love this game. Love this game. I would recommend this. Now, I would give this a perfect 10 out of 10, but I can't. As I said, the plot hole is annoying and the controls are just a little annoying. But everything else kind of makes up for it. So, I'm going to go ahead and give this game a 9.5 out of 10. A 9.5 out of 10. Alright. So, anyways, Anthony fans, Anthony Fantano style.
Transition. Did you give this game a play? Did you give this game a play? Hopefully you did. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I will see you tomorrow for Ultimate Alliance. I'll see you all for tomorrow for Ultimate Alliance. All right. See you next week for some more Until Dawn. Click one of the videos when the outro plays and all that stuff. Hope you all have a blessed day. I'm out. Go!